The question I always ask guests, well, always, is what was your first encounter with Martin Carthy like? How did you first encounter him?
Steel I Span. Back in the 70s.
Yep.
Was my first encounter with him. But thereafter, a couple of live shows of his with Dave Swarbrick in Kent. And where else? Where else have I seen him? Oh, there was a tribute to Dave Swarbrick concert in Cambridge.
Right.
With Martin Carthy. And Martin Carthy's part was excellent. But the other part was a bit more dubious, I'm afraid. It really wasn't about Swarbrick. Or not sufficiently about Swarbrick, which is a bit sad.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Jenna?
Mine. Well, I know that my parents would have played him when I was little, but I don't remember that. I think I think the first time I actually remember sitting down and listening to him was when I was researching Little Musgrave.
Right.
And I found his version.
Yeah.
And then I dropped him an email and said, can I interview you about this? And he said, yeah, and gave me his phone number. And then we had an hour and a half chat on the phone about it.
So almost your first encounter was an interview. How fantastic.
Almost. And then I met up with him a couple of years ago at Cambridge Folk Festival. He was at the bar backstage, as was I. And I just introduced myself. And
So was I.
As were you. Yes, we all were. And we stood and had a drink, and it was lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a delightful guy.
He is.
He really
nice.
is, isn't he?
Company.
Yeah. And I'm do some stuff on Clubhouse with Eliza, and she the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with that family, does it really? She's a delight.
Yeah, she is.
Anyway, hello, chat. Welcome to this week's Song Swap. We've got at least know of Jastity and Marion Beat. Jastity is in Canberra in Australia, so I think we've got our record distance straight away. And Zap Esler as well in the Midwest. And both of them, bless them, set a recurring alarm for this, so they're never late. Isn't that lovely?
Fantastic.
That's really good.
And my friend Marion, who I know from the UK folk community, singing folk songs about science fiction, is also a regular down in London. And she's got coffee and chocolate, so that's all right. And working on knitting. So, yes, these are my guests, Jenna Walker and Dave Reed Cambridge. I think you can probably guess which one's which.
Do hope so.
Hugh Waterhouse also checking in from Sheffield. Do you know Hugh?
I don't know. There are so many people up in Sheffield whose faces I know, but whose names I never find out because we stand next to each other in pubs and sing.
It's one of those, yeah.
And that's how you get to know the faces and the voices, but you never get to know the names.
One of those awful effects of COVID, as well as the thing of the Zoom, the Tuesday Zoom for Trad Song Tuesday that I don't go to anywhere near as often as I should. And suddenly it's like, oh my God, these people have got names. But the other terrible thing is only learning someone's name because someone's just announced the funeral. And that's been happening far too much because of COVID. And you just
I know, it's horrible.
Fuck this disease. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Oh, swearing's okay, by the way. It's a thing we forgot to talk about, but I find it very hard not to. So I'm not going to stop you if you're that way inclined.
Okay, that's fine. I don't think. Do we swear? I guess we do.
We do, but
we're usually just talking to each other, so we probably don't swear very much.
Yeah.
Because we quite like each other.
Or it's just cussing because something stupid has happened.
Yes, it's the
cathartic expression.
Absolutely,
because it makes it better.
I remember following my 10-year-old son up the stairs, and I'd set him the task of collecting up all of his belongings. And he had all of his belongings, but they were in a teetering pile like you used to get on Cracker Jack. Do you remember at the end? And he didn't know I was Yeah, he didn't know I was behind him, and things slipped off the top and started rolling down the stairs. And he was 10, and he went, "Oh, fuck." And I was just about to tell him off, and then I thought, no, do you know, that's an entirely appropriate response.
Exactly the right word.
To that. It's absolutely the right word.
My nephews were taught by my sister-in-law. She said that the kids knew that swearing is fucking brilliant, but they were not to let her catch them doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is a fairly sophisticated idea for them to get their heads around at some point.
Yes, it is.
Definitely.
There's that piece of research. You know that thing they say about red wine, that red wine in moderation actually improves your lifespan. Red wine in excess is going to shorten your lifespan. But if you're teetotal, that's also going to shorten your lifespan. Now, as a teetotaler, I'm not entirely sure that. I think some of that might be because a lot of teetotalers are people who were once alcoholics, and it's done its damage. But also, it turns out that people who swear can mitigate pain. So if you bang your finger with a hammer and say "fuck," it actually reduces the pain and suffering from it. Whereas if you're polite and go, it doesn't.
Yeah,
it hurts lots more.
Except it's another of these non-linear things, because people who habitually swear bang their thumb with a hammer and say "fuck," and it has no effect because it's not a cathartic word in quite the same way.
No.
Which, thank you, QI.
Imagine. Yes.
And they actually followed up the experiment with, I think, Stephen Fry and Brian Blessed, and about being able to hold their hands in ice water. And first of all, seeing how long they could hold their fist in ice water when they weren't allowed to say anything, and when they were allowed to say anything. And I think Stephen Fry and someone else. Stephen Fry is another master swearer. And someone else who's not really swearing very much. But Brian Blessed is notoriously foul-mouthed. And it panned out. They did the research. They did the thing, and the people who didn't habitually swear managed to, by having their hands in the ice water, going fuck, this hurts, fuck, lasted longer than they did when they weren't swearing. But bless him, Brian Blessed
kind of experiment.
didn't really manage any longer at all, despite swearing like a trooper and turning the air blue.
He could just have been sensible and not wanted to have his hand in ice cold water anymore.
Up to a point, but this is a man who tried to climb Everest dressed as Mallory.
Yes. That's challenging.
Well, he just is challenging.
Yes.
Well, yes. He's a role model. He's a local lad. He's from Metsborough. He's certainly Doncaster area, yeah. And, although you wouldn't know it from his accent nowadays, would you?
No, you wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't. No.
Well, I suppose he's of a generation where to be an actor you went and learned elocution and all that bollocks, didn't you? And
you did, yeah. You learned how to not have an accent.
And how to project, but he already knew that.
Yeah.
That was built in.
Absolutely.
Enormous voice.
Yeah.
Enormous.
Zap Esler, general loud expressions, etc., are not quite as good as swearing, but can have a similar effect too. Caused no end of issues when I was giving my birth to my youngest and had a nurse that didn't understand or listen to actual explanations and the patient in general. Oh, Zap, that does not sound like fun.
No.
Oh, God, can you imagine a prude for a midwife? Ooh. For all sorts of reasons.
I do remember when I was having my first son, the one who swore on the way up the stairs, I was making quite a lot of noise about how much it was hurting, generally complaining loudly. And I had quite an old and very experienced midwife. And she was being very, very lovely, but she just leant down and she said, "If you don't stop making quite so much noise and put your effort into pushing, you will never have this baby." And that shut me up. It worked.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. How to make somebody do as they're told.
I think it took my sister-in-law quite a while to forgive my brother the first time. She
Yeah. It's a surprising experience first time.
I'm sure. It's I can't even begin to imagine. I just don't have the equipment. It's just
No.
Well,
There's some interesting metaphors, and one of them involves bowling balls
yes,
through very small spaces.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Just
It's
yeah. Shall I sing a song?
Yeah, sing a song. Let's stop talking about this.
Yeah, move on from physiology.
Yeah.
Right. Where am I? Button to press. It's our usual starting song, or it will be when I've worked out if I've actually pressed the right button. I've pressed the right button, that's all right. Come one and all, let us be jolly, drive away all melancholy, for to grieve it is a folly. When we're met together, let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun, we'll end it all in pleasure. Rack falla rolla roll to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido. When we're met together, King Solomon in all his glory tells each wife a different story. In our cups we'll still disapprove of that. When we're met together, let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun, we'll end it all in pleasure. Rack falla rolla roll to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido. When we're met together, eating and drinking, they're so charming, piping and smoking, there's no harming. All these things we'll take delight in. When we're met together, let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun, we'll end it all in pleasure. Rack falla rolla roll to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido. When we're met together, cease your quarrelling and fighting, evil speaking and backbiting. All these things take no delight in. When we're met together, let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun, we'll end it all in pleasure. And now I'll press the right button. Let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun, we'll end it all in pleasure. Rack falla rolla roll to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido. When we're met together, see, grab the bottle as it passes. Do not fail to fill your glasses. Water drinkers are excellent people. When we're met together, let union be in all our hearts. Let all our hearts be joined as one. We'll end the day as we begun, we'll end it all in pleasure. Rack falla rolla roll to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido, rack falla rolla rolla to and lido. When we're met together. Slightly dicky timing, but still.
Excellent.
Very good.
Such a good song. I'm really looking forward to being able to sing it in company again.
Yeah. I'm so looking forward to hearing big groups of people singing together.
Oh, God, yeah.
Again.
I mean, some of the
It'll
stuff,
be so much fun.
some of the stuff from, the TikTok Wellerman thing has been an absolute delight in hearing that. But it's not the same. Making that music like that is not the same, is it? It's.
No.
I know-
It's not.
I know a few people are doing a thing called Bucket Train, where one person
I've heard of
sings
that.
the song, and it's basically like, the Wellerman duet, where people took it in turns to add and then add to add to add. It's basically that done live. So one person who you're hoping knows the song rock solid and has the timing rock solid sings it solo, and then the next person joins in, and then the next person, and then the next person, and then the next person. So at the end of it, the person singing a last and the people getting to watch it get to hear this glorious multi-part harmony. But the poor bugger at the other end is just like going, or if he's the drummer, just going boots, cats, boots, cats, boots, cats, cats, for 3.5 minutes with no feedback at all. It's just
Quite boring,
yeah.
I would imagine.
Well, this is
Quite
why you have
boring.
loop pedals for that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yes, that worked really well. I couldn't quite imagine how it was going to work when you were demonstrating it earlier, but it worked really well.
Yeah, it's
It's a clever thing.
I should practice more, because that wasn't as tightly timed as I'd quite like it to be. But it's still, well, it's better than nothing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, we're really lucky, obviously, because because we live together. We sing together,
Yeah.
so we haven't missed harmony in quite the same way.
No.
And the other lovely thing is that any time we turn up online to sing anywhere, everybody just goes, "Oh, good harmony."
Yes.
Um,
I'd remember that from Tuesday nights on the Tradsong Tuesday
Yeah.
thing as well, yeah.
yeah.
And then very occasionally you get on one of those Zooms the lucky family that has 3 in
Yeah.
lockdown.
Yes.
So they get to trump us, really.
There's that
They do.
fantastic family doing the parodies on YouTube, whose name has now escaped me. Doing
Oh, yeah, it's all of them, isn't it? Like
Yes.
2 teenage kids and a
two
little
teenage
kid
kids and a little kid and 2 parents.
Yeah.
And really,
Yeah.
really good. Really,
Yeah, really good.
not improvised arrangements, really good arrangements and really good parody lyrics.
Well, I guess that's one way to stop you all going mad, isn't it?
Well,
in
yes.
Lockdown, if you can get all the kids involved in that.
Yeah, and then properly done live with well, I mean, it's certainly shot as live. There's no
No
editing between.
No,
Oh fuck,
no.
we screwed that verse up. Let's just do a ripple edit, which you often see on a lot of YouTubers stuff. No, they're doing that proper single take as live. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been really lovely watching lots of kids singing. I don't know
Yes.
if you saw the last Folk on Foot, and it ended with Nancy Kerr and James Fagan and their 2 boys singing with them.
If it's still on, I should catch up, because I saw a lot of Folk on Foot, but I missed.
It was
Yeah,
it was a lovely thing. It
Yeah,
was
that's
a
very
lovely
good.
thing.
those kids are lovely anyway.
They are so lovely, but they're both so funny because they're at that kind of age now where I think a little bit of self-perception is coming in. And they were both sitting on a sofa, and one of them's really dancing into it, and the other one just keeps looking at him like this while they're singing. It's like, what are you
What are
doing?
you doing?
I can't quite tell whether he's thinking, are we meant to be dancing, or are you being foolish? Or, well, can't quite work out what the vibe is that's going on. But it's very lovely. Anyway.
H&H are brilliant. They are 2 of the sweetest kids I've ever met, and so bewildering. I mean, they're like 10 and 11 or something, aren't they? They just, I can't believe how mature they appear.
Yeah. They seem really lovely.
Have you seen Sophie Ellis Bextor's kitchen disco stuff with her kids?
I haven't caught any of it.
We saw a bit of it.
They're brilliant, because she's just like, she has no fucks to give. She just cracks on and enjoys herself. And all the family's there, and they're sort of, she's got a lot of kids, including your proper stroppy teenager who by now has just given up. Oh, Mum's doing this, I'm just going to have to live with it. And it's just lovely to watch.
Excellent. No, it's how you have to be with teenagers, really.
Yeah, just crack on.
There's no point pussyfooting around them.
No.
Because they just get worse.
No, and I mean, if they enjoy what you're doing, great. And if they don't, fuck them.
Well, fine. They can go. They can go off and do something in a different room.
Hugh Waterhouse has reminded me it's the Marsh family, because Hugh Waterhouse is the master of Google and remembering stuff. He's brilliant. If I forget something, Hugh, within sort of 2 minutes has my answer for me. It's great.
It's your answer.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we've got my eldest son, again, the one who swore going up the stairs, is at home at the moment. He works from kind of March till October in Slovenia as a raft guide, but he's stuck here. And he is the same on Google. You know, we can be in a different room, and I'll say to David, "What is this?" And 2 minutes later, you get a shout from the other room.
He's got high-speed thumbs, so it's really
Very
quick.
high-speed thumbs. He finds everything very fast. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. Shall we sing you a song, Chris?
That's probably a good idea. Yeah.
Shall we?
All right.
This is I mean, you know the kind of stuff we do. I don't know if anybody else does. Usually we do mostly traditional stuff. This one sounds like it's traditional, but isn't.
And it's been recorded by plenty of trad singers as well.
Yeah.
It has, yeah, lots of them. Okay.
That's Briar and the Rose.
I fell asleep down by a stream, and there I had the strangest dream, that down by Brenner's Glen there grows a briar and a rose. There's a tree in the forest, I don't know where, I built a nest out of your hair, and climbing high into the air, the briar and the rose. I don't know how long it has been since I was born in Brennan's Glen, but near the end of spring there grows a briar and a rose. I picked the rose one early morn, pricked my finger on a thorn. They'd grown so close, they wind in woe, the briar and the rose. I tried to tear them both apart, I felt a bullet in my heart, and all dressed up in spring's new clothes, the briar and the rose. And when I'm buried and in my grave, tell me so I may know, your tears will fall to make love grow, the briar and the rose. And when I am buried and in my grave, tell me so I may know, your tears will fall to make love grow, the briar and the rose.
Harmony. Just keep doing that all night. We'll be fine. I love it when you've got a male and female voice harmony and the bloke goes higher than the woman. It's
great,
that
isn't it?
Mike Waterson trick, isn't it? Just
I think it was one of the things that made us, when we first started having a go at some songs together, the fact that David's got quite a high tenor and I can actually sing quite low. The combination of that is
Yeah, it
I
just
think
works
we both
really
we
well.
both
love
had,
it.
there were a few moments where we both went,
Oh,
oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, in rehearsal, I've been rehearsing with Emily Eastwood of Steel Songbirds.
Okay.
And,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, and she's as I discovered the weekend I met her at Sheffield Sessions Fest, our voices just go like that,
Oh,
and
brilliant.
it's just without wishing to sound arrogant, I just love it. The noise we
Yeah.
make is a thing that I'm really, really looking forward to sort of putting out
Yeah.
and getting people to listen to, because it's just her voice just meshes into mine beautifully, and it's a real.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think we found that
Yeah.
for us. It's not strange, but it was interesting the way it came about, because before we started singing together, we went to a few. We knew each other from singing solos, but we had a summer of going to various festivals,
Yeah,
sitting in the audience, and of course you end up joining in.
yeah.
And what was interesting was we were both going for the same harmony line.
So it was like, oh,
And hang on, this is interesting.
Yeah, I remember that thing of that harmony vocal from the audience. I remember John Wilkes being on as a guest and him talking about he's involved in the folk club down in wherever he lives. Brain gone.
Yeah.
I'm sure
between Oxford and Birmingham.
I'm sure he will
isn't it?
tell me in a minute.
It's
and-
over that way.
Yeah, with Paul Sartin. And it's another. I love clubs run by artists. I'm really hoping to
Yeah.
get down to that club as soon as I possibly can. But he talked about booking Jackie Oates, I think, for the first time. And of course, Jackie Oates. Oates.
Oats.
Yes. Brain fade. And he's discovered folk music, but not through folk clubs and festivals. He fell in love with this stuff through recordings, and then got involved with, I think, met Paul and got involved in making recordings and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he's quite new to the folk club scene. And of course, if you run a folk club and put on good guests, you're going to get folk club attendees turning up and going. So they put Jackie on, and Jackie sang The Sweet Nightingale. And John said, when my sweetheart, come along, don't you hear the fond song, the sweet notes of the nightingale play, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you know what happens because you're a folk club person. The entire audience went, tra-la-la, and John's like, what the fuck just happened? And then everyone joins in with the last bit of the verse, although there's no repeat or anything like that. And thus was he introduced to that culture of singing and of finding other singers. But I wish I'd been there to see that reaction from someone. It's just, and I had the pleasure.
When you, I know that David had a solo album out a few years ago, a couple of years ago, and my sister and my brother, who aren't folk club people at all, came along, and my younger brother as well. They all came along, and there were points in that where everybody was singing along with him, and I remember watching my sister do exactly the same. She was like, "But shouldn't everybody be being quiet and listening? Why are they all making a noise?" And you could see they all kind of sank in their chairs like this. And it's like, well, I'm not singing. I hope nobody wants me to sing. It was very funny.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
Yeah, and I that singing in company is the magic for me of a folk club. It's that it's the thing I think that distinguishes our scene almost from other. Because I mean, any contemporary music is in a sense folk music. It's people are making music and responding to their scenery, blah 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 blah. If you any sane definition of vernacular folk music means vernacular music, and that means that grime belongs in that thing as much as almost anything else. Although grime doesn't have the folk process, so there's that. But it kind of anyway. Let's not get too academic too early.
No, let's not get too far into that.
I mean, the whole sort of diss tracks and dialogue that goes on, it's
Yeah.
definitely a folk
Yeah.
practice. It's not what we consider to be folk music, but it's definitely a folk art,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think. But our scene is the expectation of the performers is that you're performing to people who are themselves, at the very least, practitioners. You know, the expectation is that people are going to sing and that people might want to take a song you'll sing and take it home and sing it for themselves, or do a bit of research and sing a version of it for themselves. And that's rather different from, you know, Ed Sheeran, who writes songs with amazing, rousing choruses. But he's not he's expecting everyone in that audience to be singing along, and indeed they do. But it's not that same. He's probably not expecting most of those people to want to go home and work out how to perform that themselves.
No, no, he's not. It's a very different. There's a very different rationale behind it.
Although I remember seeing.
And I think it's much less. I think in folk music or performing to a folk audience, I think there is a real sense, often from the performer, of sharing something with that audience. You know, there's very often very little physical distance between you. There isn't this whole thing of you being up on a big stage a lot of the time. It's a close, intimate, friendly sharing of musical, mostly friendly, sharing of musical ideas. And, you know, as a performer, you're there because you have worked sufficiently hard to get a body of music together that you want to share with people. Yeah. That's why we perform. Yeah. We're never going to be famous. We're never going to make any money out of this.
Oh, I don't know. After this,
who knows?
Who knows?
But the joy is sharing,
just communicating
with people.
Yeah, and sharing.
Yeah.
But talking about having audiences in front of you, and in some venues they're about here.
Yeah.
Which is slightly too close.
Have you played Royal Trads yet?
No, not yet. It got cancelled.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm just a bit worried I might not be noisy enough.
You'll be fine. When Liza played there, she was literally they got as many seats in as they possibly could, and it was a mystery gig, so they were hoping that people showed up and. But when I arrived, literally the only seats left were in the front row, and I nearly got her bow in my nose at least once. It was that close. A magical night of gig. But I mean that club. It's one of those clubs you go to no matter who the guest is. It's Trad Song. It's Royal Trads this week. The session afterwards is going to be good, even if I don't like the artist.
No, it will be. I am looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it.
I look forward to seeing the new schedule, and I will definitely be along to see you do your thing.
Thank you very much.
So, are you in Cambridge now? You're not in Sheffield?
No, I never have lived in Sheffield. When I did the MA, it was a distance learning course.
Right.
So I stayed in Cambridge. But when we moved in the summer, we in fact moved to Suffolk.
Right. Oh, whereabouts?
So we are near Clare.
Right.
Do you know Clare?
I've got friends in Debenham, and
that's further east.
And used to know people in Framsden and places like that.
Yes, that's all a bit further east. We are right in the kind of corner where Suffolk and Essex and Cambridgeshire meet.
I've driven through Clare. I've got at least one friend. One friend used to live there. Now he lives much more into Cambridge. But it's a beautiful neck of the country.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely beautiful. That's why we moved here.
Yeah.
Hugely beneficial. Over these last few months.
Yeah, you were saying about having a big garden. A big garden in COVID times is magic, isn't it?
Big garden has been brilliant, and also we've got a mad collie who just was never built for town life, really. And here I used to have to put him in a car to drive him somewhere where we could walk without meeting too many other people or too many other distractions. Now we just walk out the front door.
Yes.
And we're there. We're in
300 footpath.
countryside.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that far from Cambridge to really nice countryside, but it's still 5 or 10 minutes by car, isn't it? You've still got to do it.
It is.
Exactly.
It's away. And, you know, Cambridge in traffic in Cambridge being what it is,
Yeah.
which is nightmarish. And, you know, Cambridge has changed from, you know, we'd both been there for upwards of, well, I've been
Yeah.
there for 30 years in total.
Like 25 years.
Been there for 25 years. And when we moved, it was
Cambridge was
still a university town. You know, the town bits were lovely, the university bits were lovely. It was still quite intimate.
Yeah. Traffic was manageable,
Yeah.
It's lost.
But
It's
it's
lost
just
a lot
gone.
of that.
and it's
No.
expanded so much
Yeah.
with the extra houses. So
So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be out here. And we're in a river valley, so there's a river just about 5 minutes walk that
Oh,
way.
nice.
It's gorgeous. Lots of
Yeah.
wildlife.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I used
Very
to-
lovely.
Used to love going to sessions in Suffolk as well. The again much further east. The sort of the Oyster at Botley was one of
Okay.
those big old singing clubs. And when I was living in Chelmsford, they still had sessions there. I don't think they do
Yeah.
anymore, but I think it was last
They,
Sunday.
There's one on the coast, isn't there? What's
that's
that one?
Blackshill.
Yeah,
Blackshill
Yeah, the ship at the
Sessions.
Blackshill.
Ship at Blackshill.
and that's another. That's been going for 50, 60 years at least, isn't it?
It has, yeah.
And
it has.
the Eel's Foot still has
Get over
sessions.
there.
The where, sorry?
The Eel's Foot at wherever the heck it is, that used to
we'll
be.
look that one up. I'll write it down.
Again, it's out near the coast, and that
Yeah.
used to be that used to have the great Suffolk and Norfolk singers going to it. It was a real. I can't remember names now, but yeah, it's a lovely tiny 2-room pub as well. So
Yeah.
it's
Brilliant. I mean, one of the problems we've had, of course, is that nothing's been happening anywhere.
no.
So we haven't been able to get out
No, it's quite
and
sad.
find anybody or anything yet. But we will. And they've got a really good festival now
Yes.
as well for Folk East.
Folk
Folk
East,
East.
yeah.
So,
That's the one on Cromer Pier, isn't it?
no,
No,
that
that's-
is
That is Cromer.
Folk
Cromer Fest
on
or
the
something.
Pier.
on the
That's
pier.
the Folk on the Pier festival.
Yeah.
Folk East is in
it
Suffolk,
Glenham?
and it's Glenham Park, I think. Glenham.
It's very bad. I keep confusing Suffolk and Norfolk, and that's a.
Yes, Cromer's Norfolk, isn't it?
It is, yes. And Kipper.
There are people who will disown you from now on.
I realise, yes. I'm a Yorkshireman. It's not Yorkshire. I don't care.
It's not Yorkshire, so you
Yeah, it
don't
doesn't
know.
matter. It's just
I mean, I'm as far as I'm concerned, it's the fucking counties, isn't it? Because it's like I live in Yorkshire. I don't live in South Yorkshire or North Yorkshire or West Yorkshire. I live in Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
yeah.
So those two East Anglian counties feel very,
Yeah.
and I know they're not really. But if I'm trying to wind up East Anglians, I might do that. I feel I should tell you that members of our audience, Zap Esler said that was really lovely about Briar and the Rose,
Thank
and
you.
some applause from Marion Beat. And Marion, as is so often the case, has been our first person donating to the Ko-fi pot. So
Very
Brilliant.
kind.
Thank you, Marion.
thank you, Marion. And I've this week I've managed to. I've got the sound right, which after the last couple of weeks is miraculous. But I've broken the thing that displays the when people pop money in the pot. So
Wow.
6. You can have one thing or you can have the other, but I reckon the sound's more important.
I
so
think sound is more important on a song swap.
I'm going to have to rely on my timer to remind people about the hat, so to speak.
A hat.
Yes.
Words are hard. Do you find that?
Words are hard.
Yeah.
Especially when you think about them.
Yeah. When you're searching for one. Ooh.
Yes. Not there anywhere.
Yeah. I'm starting to worry. I've had a few occasions of forgetting to put milk in tea and then forgetting that I'd actually put water in the teapot and reboiled the kettle and stuff like that. And I'm only
God,
53.
I do that all the time.
Can't be
Yeah.
Alzheimer's yet, but it's still a bit worrying.
That's just normal.
Yeah.
Normal wear and tear.
I think
You
so.
see, I've got a good excuse because I'm probably menopausal, so I've got that excuse.
Right, yes.
Because until I read that one of the side effects of being menopausal is that you can be very forgetful, I was getting quite seriously worried about early onset Alzheimer's. But now I'm fine. It's just a hormone.
Yeah.
I think
I
the other
can't
thing is
blame that.
today it sneaks in because today's the 6th anniversary of Terry Pratchett's death, and that is associated with his Alzheimer's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, God, is it 6 years?
I know, right? Anyway, GNU Terry Pratchett, a man is not dead while his name is still spoken, so, you know,
Absolutely.
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 there's a man whose books found me at just the right moment. You know how there are books that books are absolutely timeless, but there's also that thing of that book arriving for you when you're just the right age, and then them all being published. And there's a thing about reading that sequence when you can't decide to read them in a different order because they're coming out as you read them, and it's like, you know, nobody now can do that with Terry's works. Nobody now can do that with Harry Potter, although a lot of time now people are like, I don't really want to do Harry Potter anymore because of the whole J.K. Rowling and her opinion about trans people. But yeah, no, the just that experience of being there when the books are happening, so to speak, and you know.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of those books are timeless, a lot of what's in there there's still contemporary references that probably slip by people who weren't about at the right time to understand that thing. And it's I doubt I'll ever have that experience again, really, with that same intensity. And I wonder who
probably not.
I wonder who the next writer that's going to be like that for a generation will be. Just. I know people for whom Philip Pullman was the thing, and they're watching his Dark Materials with even more attention than me, who came across it much later. Well, aren't they fantastic?
So good, so good.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best productions they put on, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Just. So there's that thing, isn't there, with books like that? Your primary directive as someone doing adaptation is do not fuck it up, and they've gone so far past not fucking it up. It's just
it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, Marion's saying that for her it was Star Trek. You know, again that thing that lands at just the right time, and you know, with that intense humanity. I mean, we kind of go back and look at Star Trek now, and some of it seems still desperately sexist and you know, a tad racist. But for the time, it was amazing.
Yeah, it was the wobbly walls that got me. The wobbly walls and the polystyrene rocks. Really. That was the thing that got me. I don't know what it was for me as a kid. I can't really remember. I certainly can't remember anything hitting me quite like Harry Potter hit my two.
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't.
I read the whole Harry Potter series to my two out loud.
Oh, lovely.
So they were young enough to understand the first one when it came out.
Yeah.
And then they weren't old enough to have been completely bored by sitting and listening to Mum by the time the last one came out. So we did the whole lot. And that was an experience that we'll share forever.
Absolutely. How tired did you get of saying Harry, Ron, and Hermione?
Yeah. Very tired.
Very tired. They're not the best reading aloud books in the world.
No, they're not. But they've got lots of.
But they've got lots in them.
They've got
lots of voices.
Them. You can do lots.
Which is the fun bit. I love
Rita
doing that.
Skeeter. I've got a really good Rita Skeeter all the time. And then it got to the point where the boys used to go, "Oh, is Rita Skeeter nearly finished now?" Like, no, she's talking like this all the time.
There's that thing as well about reading for kids. You know, you don't have to. We listen to an audio book and it's amazing. You know, Stephen Fry's reading the Harry Potter stuff is wonderful.
Yeah.
He does it beautifully.
He does.
But Marion is saying, I still want to do an editorial hatchet job on Deathly Hallows. You can't, Marion. I'm sorry, but
Too late.
but there's that thing you're reading to your kids. You don't. I read to Jill every night if I can, and it's lovely. But there's that thing, isn't there? I mean, it's lovely when you do voices, but you don't have to do voices. You're reading to your kids. That the fact that you are prepared to take the time to read that book to them sends all it trumps all the fancy voices that Stephen Fry can do, or all the high quality recording, or whatever it might be. It's just it's love on a plate.
But that was one of the most fun parts of reading to my two when they were little, to the extent that I used to make sure I was home from work in time to read to them, because I enjoyed it as much as they did. Yeah. The thing I used to find with some books, though, I'd forget which voice I'd done for which character, and then I'd repeat it for another character.
But they never
and
do.
They knew. They'd tell
Kids
me.
never
They'd
forget
tell me,
that.
no, that's what's his name's voice. You got to do a different one.
They're buggers, really. But yeah, it is. I'm really pleased that came along when it did, because that was an experience that the three of us shared over such a lot of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's 8 years, 9 years.
Yeah, over 8 years.
Yeah.
Which, you know, was amazing.
One thing that was really helpful with the Harry Potter books was they came out on either tapes to start with or CDs, and they're long enough for a really long car journey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The number of times we drove down through France to Harry Potter, it's the best driving story, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely convinced.
Tintin absolutely isn't.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah, don't listen to Tintin when you're driving, because it's got really infuriating music. And you go dun 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 dun, and your accelerator foot's going dun 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 dun.
I've heard a few American audiobooks, and they often do it with full score, and I'm like, no.
Don't need it.
No.
Just the voice. A good voice.
I'm sure that Stephen Fry saved my life once, because my kids were doing a canoeing trip in Wales, and there's a section of small rapids which tends to be some of the first rapids that kids at canoe clubs will be taken on. It's called Simmons Yat. It's very beautiful, but it's on the River Wye, and to approach it there's a tiny little road that goes up over the top of this hill, and it's got passing places because it is two-way traffic, but of course it's not big enough for two-way traffic.
How many have had the P scratched out?
Sorry?
How many had the P scratched out?
I don't understand.
Oh, the P for passing place.
Oh, the P for all of them.
Yes.
All of them.
All of them. Absolutely. Sorry. Good.
That's okay. But I was coming down to collect them from Simmons Yat. So I'd come over the top, and suddenly there were lots of cars in the road, and there was a bloody bike race coming up the other way. So we all had to get into the passing place, which I did, and there's a sheer drop at the side of this passing place. And I was in a new car, one that could have all canoeing and kayaking kit in it. So I wasn't very used to driving it, and I was in this passing place, and then it transpired that what all the cars were going to have to do was reverse out of their passing place, up this incredibly steep hill, and into the passing place behind, so that this car that was completely blocking the road at the front could get out of the way. And I just sat there and thought, I can't do that. This is with a sheer drop at the side of the passing place. And there was a man in a Land Rover in front of me. And I just thought, a part of me said, just get him to do it. He'll do it. Just ask him to do it and he'll do it. And another part screamed at me, don't you dare. Don't, I think it was probably my mother's voice. Don't you dare ask that man to do it. So I got back in my car and I put Stephen Fry reading Harry Potter on the CD player. And he was so calm. I kind of instantly went, oh, okay, I can do this. And reversed out of one passing place, up the hill, and into the next one without going over the side of the hill.
Wow.
So not a Voldemort section.
Not a Voldemort section, no. A nice calm one. Oh, God. One
Stephen
of the
Fry.
most nerve-wracking experiences.
What
of
a
my
hero.
life. Yeah, my hero forever is Stephen Fry.
That's lovely.
So, sing us a song,
Yeah,
PS.
I'll sing a song. That's probably a good idea. Press a button. Oh yeah, that's it. This is inspired by your doing The Briar and the Rose. This is another of those written songs that you would swear is a folk song, and another beautiful tune, and another beautiful set of words. And actually, for me, learned from the same source. No, not quite. From the other half of the same source that I learned The Briar and the Rose from, because I learned this from Faye Heald on the full English recording. This is what is this thing? Within the woodland flowery gladed, by the oak tree's mossy mood, where painted grasses timber... No, oh God. Within the woodland flowering gladed, by the oak tree's mossy mood, where something timber shaded now do quiver underfoot, and water's bubbling in its bed, while birds are singing overhead. And there for me the apple tree do lean down low in linden lee, when painted birds do cease their singing. Oh God, it's all escaped. It's all dribbled out my ears. No, it's gone. It's just gone.
It's the most irritating thing, isn't
Yes.
it? So irritating.
Right, for a start, I started with the second line of that verse, and that never helps. When we were talking about guys, it's my fault. I talked about senility and forgetfulness, and I've completely radished myself. I'll have to sing something else. Joys are flowing like a river, since the Comforter has come. He abides with us forever, makes the trusting heart his home. Blessed quietness, holy quietness, what assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, speaking peace to me, how the billows cease to roll. See, a fruitful field is growing, blessed fruits of righteousness, and the streams of life are flowing in the lonely wilderness. Blessed quietness, holy quietness, what assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, speaking peace to me, how the billows cease to roll. Like the falling rain from heaven, like the sunlight from the sky. So the Holy Ghost is given, falling on us from on high. Blessed quietness, holy quietness, what assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, speaking peace to me, how the billows cease to roll. What a wonderful salvation, where we always see his face. What a peaceful habitation, what a quiet resting place. Blessed quietness, holy quietness, what assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, speaking peace to me, how the billows cease to roll. Joys are flowing like a river, since the Comforter has come. He abides with us forever, makes the trusting heart his home. Blessed quietness, holy quietness, what assurance in my soul. On the stormy sea, speaking peace to me, how the billows cease to roll. On the stormy sea, speaking peace to me, how the billows cease to roll.
Gosh, that was beautiful.
Thank you. It's
Very
a
nice.
gorgeous song, isn't it?
I've
It is.
never heard that song.
It's Seek Out My Lady of Autumn by Beggars Velvet. Fantastic record. Lots and lots of Dave Webber's best songs on it. And includes that on it, which is where I learned it from. And it's an absolute corker, isn't it? Just
Yeah,
Just good.
really
they-
beautiful.
they were a wonderful, wonderful act until Charlie Yarwood
That was-
turned out to be a cad. All those great folk bands we lose to divorce, eh? Yeah.
Yes. Oh God, I'd never really thought about that. What Pierce just said.
Oh.
Yes. Sad.
Then again, I mean, it's awful for the people involved, but by God, Richard Thompson wrote some brilliant songs off the back of his divorce.
True.
I'm not sure Linda has forgiven him yet, but that's the awful thing about being an artist, isn't it? You turn everything into art.
Yes. I mean,
Whereas if you
whenever
are-
I try to write about personal experience like that, it doesn't really work. I have to say, I haven't got the gift of turning my pain, not personal pain like that, into words that I would want to sing in front of anybody.
No.
Yeah. Oh God, I
There
mean,
is a-
It's quite raw.
there's a record of Peggy Seeger's, and not the current one, I think the last one or the one before, where there's a song in there about Ewan. I think it's
Yeah.
about Ewan, and I don't know how she sang it once for the recording, but apparently she performed it live, and you just sat there going,
How? Yeah.
and I guess the muse is a bastard. The muse will make you do it, because what else are you going to do? And I don't know how she does it, but she does, and I'm immensely grateful that she can.
Yeah.
But
I guess you just have to develop. You have to develop a sense of detachment from it when you're singing it. I know. I mean, obviously, we perform "Hurt in Your Heart," the John Martin song, and there have been a couple of occasions where
Some extraordinary reactions to it.
we've had extraordinary reactions to it, but also I have sat singing it with David thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to get through this. Actually, it's so moving.
Yeah.
I don't know the song, and I have consciously chosen never to listen to that man at all because of the way he treated his wife. And
Yeah.
you know, let's get this out. The man was a controlling, abusive bastard, and he made art that was, people tell me, absolutely beautiful, and I cannot get past the awfulness of the man to appreciate what he did. But, you know, at the same time, I'm not going to... that's me. That's my personal choices and my personal feelings about that. So it's for exactly the same reason. Sounds really stupid. I don't use any typeface designed by Eric Gill since I discovered he used to fuck his daughter. You know, and it seems like such a petty thing on my part. I cannot get past the fact that this man was such a monster.
I guess I do completely understand that. The first person I heard sing Hurt in Your Heart was David. So, and in fact, I don't have the John Martin album that it's on, and I have heard it and I have listened to it. But I fell in love with the song when David sang it.
Yes.
So it has it. I don't.
Yeah.
Has a
in
bunch
my
of
head,
other associations.
It hasn't got that association to John Martin. But you know, you're absolutely right, and I think especially in the climate we're in at the moment, if people don't start saying, well, no, we're going to cut ourselves off from this because the behaviour of the person making it is not acceptable.
Yes.
Then I think it will be difficult for us to move forward.
Yes. I mean, and it's tricky in this scene anyway, because so much of the behaviour described in many of the songs we love is not good.
It's awful. No.
Fairly unacceptable.
John Bowden once said, you don't go to folk songs for dating advice.
No. For life advice at all. But
many of the
what
attitudes
they
in
do
them
is they tell stories of
Yeah.
things that happen. You know,
Yes.
so whilst we must be careful not to glorify the people who did the things, we mustn't ever stop telling the stories.
No.
Because they're vital. That's how you carry the history and hopefully the lessons that we learn forwards.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's why those songs are so important.
I'm still not ever singing Little Sir Hugh.
I don't think I know that.
Little Sir Hugh is a young man who is lured by the Jew's daughter into her garden because he throws a ball over the wall while playing.
Oh, I do know
and
it, yeah.
she does terrible, terrible things to him.
Yeah.
And there are all sorts of nasty things about it. I mean, at the time the song first appeared, there were like 5 Jews in Britain. It's just astonishing. There is apparently a correlation between it getting heavily printed in broadsides and massacres of Jews, and it's just it's a horrific song, and I don't think even if it had the most ravishing tune, and it's a ballad, so any ballad tune will go with it. I just couldn't. No matter how much contextualization you put on it, you just can't perform it. But at a club I used to go to in Byker at the Cumberland Arms, there was one bloke who I only ever heard him sung twice, and both times he sang that fucking song. And he just, not with any context, he just sang it. He just sat there going, what?
I think that's another thing that happens, isn't it? Is quite often people don't actually think about the words they're singing.
Yeah.
They learn a song and think, oh, this is a good song, this is a good story, and they sing it out, and they don't.
They just don't put the context on.
But I also think that that's what makes the best singers the best, is that they do understand and manage to convey all of the emotion within that song, within a song.
I mean, we talked
and all
about
the
this.
best ones do it.
We talked about this when we were talking about Little Musgrave, didn't we? The chat. Jenna's dissertation for her MA was on the song Little Musgrave, or Matty Groves, it's also known as.
Yeah.
And she was looking for people who sang it, and I was someone who sang. That interview has made me sing it more, I must confess. I've sung it on here quite a few times.
Good.
And we talked about, and I recorded it for Jenna, and we talked about style and stuff like that. And one of the things that I found was that you can't, for me, you can't sing a ballad without having some sense of what you have to decide, because there's not much. Ballads are all surface. There's this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. There's not she felt like this, he felt like that, they said. It's just this sequence of events. So you have to...
Narrative.
It's a narrative, yeah. It's not a story. Harking back to Gordon Hall. And for me, that means I have to have some sense of what the characters in the ballad, why they are behaving as they do. It doesn't have to be all of them, but it's certainly for the principles. You have to understand why these things are happening. And sometimes that's really hard, because the things that happen are so inhuman almost by modern standards. And then a lot of the time, the things that happen could have happened yesterday.
Yeah.
God.
Unfortunately.
The Oxford Girl, just so many awful, awful songs that could have happened in the last, torn from the headlines. It'll be a long time before I sing any. I won't be singing any of those for a while, I don't think.
It just comes too close to home.
Too close,
but
isn't
the
it?
other interesting thing about that is that, I think probably most of those ballads somewhere along the line were based on things that really happened, or several different events are all pulled into one ballad, but we don't know the people involved, and we don't know their reasons for doing what they did. And what I often find is that I'll start singing a ballad one way, and I'm very clear about the motivation of all of the characters. Then a few years down the line, I'll suddenly think, oh God, no, hang on, he's not doing that because of that, he's doing it because of this other reason. And then the song really changes. And once that happens, it usually goes off my repertoire for a while I
you work out how to sing it again.
Figure it. Because everything about it changes then. The reactions to that person change because his motivation has changed. So they're real kind of living entities in that way, I think.
Tam Lin is the one that I always come back to. It's always, every Trad Song Tuesday, nearly, I could just put up a recording of Tam Lin and it would fit. But there's that thing in there about the verse that I sing, and I've not heard many other people singing, about the old grey knight leaning over the wall and telling Margaret off for getting pregnant. And she tears a strip off him. And the second you find that verse and drop it into the song, you can't then go back to those first few verses and have it be a rape. She's got to be someone making a decision about her own agency right at that point. She's gone to that woods to get shagged by Tam Lin. She's been warned, she's going, she doesn't care. But if you just go with the passive Janet, it then makes her actions at the end of the song seem really weird. And that, well, Margaret, as I sing it, I say Janet because that's what other people sing, but it's those things about that little extra verse that goes, oh right, I suddenly I understand her, and it's often, and you're right, it has that ripple effect through the rest of the song. You can't not take notice of it. You can't ignore the change that makes. And then those
whose turn is it to sing next?
I think it's yours.
I was just going to say that we could sing you Renadine. Because that's one song that has changed for me over time. So the first time that when I started singing it, it was very much, it was that Renadine was was a despicable kind of character. But just having explored a little bit how she behaved.
Oh, I'm not going to do the beginning bit because I can't remember how that goes.
Okay.
Sorry, David's just picked up this, which is a sansula, because there's on the album there's a little bit of rhyme that goes before this, but we didn't practice it. Can I remember it? Is that coming across all right? Can you hear it? Okay, we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go. Hey, quoth the Todd, it's a broad light night. The wind's in the west and the moon shines bright. The wind's in the west and the moon shines bright. And I am away to the town of...
Right. The guitar no
Yeah.
longer will sound like a banjo again. So that was gorgeous. Love that recording. And
Thank you.
yeah. So
Thank you.
what changed about it for you then when you sort of thought about the way she treated him?
Well, when I first sang it, she had no power within that song at all, and he was an appalling character.
Yes.
He never ceases to be an appalling character. I still think in a magical, mysterious, evil kind of way he is, but my feelings have subtly changed about how much she minds that he is, or how much she doesn't know
Yes.
that he is the way he is.
Yeah.
The more I've sung it, the more I've thought, because there is also, I think, a bit of a tendency with that to think, oh, she's poor and sweet and innocent and doesn't know what's going on, and he is
Well, it's definitely
predatory and strong and taking advantage. But actually, there are lots of different types of relationship,
Yes.
and I don't necessarily believe anymore, certainly not in our version, I don't believe that she is lacking in agency. I think she has more about her than it at first
Yes.
seems.
And that's often a thing with so many of the songs I have problems with as a singer. I keep having a go at The Cruel Ship's Carpenter. Do I mean The Cruel Ship's Carpenter? Yeah, the where he leads her off through the woods, kills her, and then buggers off to sea, and she has absolutely no agency in that early part of the song. It's really, the ghost takes revenge on him, but in terms of her, she's a complete dish rag in the beginning of the song, and much as I love that first verse that the Watersons have to it, fair ones are a-shining over valleys and towns, which makes no sense but sounds gorgeous, is not enough for me to want to sing the rest of the song. There's other songs where that one line has me working out how to sing this. There's a line in The Gay Goshawk, with cheery cheeks and ruby lips, she laid a smile on him. And I've not yet worked out how to sing it because the tune I know to it is Pete Morton's tune, and that really needs the guitar.
Yes.
And so I've got to work out how to. I think it might go to a tune I nicked from Northern Tunes, Yorkshire Song Collector. Five Finger, Frank Kidson.
So many. Frank
Kidson, yeah.
Frank Kidson.
Brilliant tune attached to a fragment of a song, and it might work, or it might just be slightly too boring, but we'll see.
Isn't it so exciting, though, trying to find ways to do them and to arrange them?
Yeah.
When I first started singing in clubs again, which must have been about 6.5 years ago,
Yeah, I would think. Yeah,
I think one of the things I loved about David's singing was that he took these songs that I knew from the singing of other people and made them completely different and made them completely his own. And I hadn't really been a folk singer before. I had sung in folk clubs a bit over my time, usually once I'd plucked up enough Dutch courage after enough pints of Guinness to get up and do something. But, starting to go to folk clubs again, you see all these different things people do with the same material.
Yes.
And it's just amazing. So although from the outside you could look at it and think, oh, well, there are all these songs and people sing all the same songs. Yes, but there are about as many different versions
of the song as there are singers.
Songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the great
beautiful
pleasures of picking up those songs, especially traditional ones, that you can put your own shape on it. And especially if you're prepared to just play with it and just see how it works. And quite often you just end up shifting the tune a bit or shifting it a lot. and the way in which the words fit onto it.
And writing that verse that fixes it.
Yeah, that's missing.
Yes.
Or that's
Yeah,
missing,
I've
or that's...
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times.
I can't remember. I was chatting with someone about this.
Missing.
I was chatting with someone about this, about how often you can fix a folk song by just leaving off the last verse. You don't even have to write a new one.
Yeah.
Just don't sing it.
Just leave it. Yeah.
That moral is
There are
terrible.
those other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are those other ones where the story clearly jumps.
Yeah.
You get to this point in the story, and then
Yeah.
it's like there's a hole in the middle.
Yeah,
The
and
Grey Selkie is like that.
God,
There's
yes.
I've added a verse into that because it's missing. We haven't got round to singing it, but there's a piece in the middle where it's all around the putting of the gold ring on, the gold chain on, and then the hunter shooting the two seals and one with the gold chain on, and it's missing a salient point, which is you've just shot your son, and it just doesn't make that connection properly.
I don't remember. I don't have the gold chain reference at all in the version I see.
Okay.
And a moment with that one clicked when I realised that the nurse, the Nuris, is not the child's mother.
Oh, that's a slightly different version
Because
to
she's
the one
a, you know, I mean,
know
the,
then.
what is it? The first line: "An earthly Nuris sits and sings," and that's she's a nurse. She's a wet nurse,
Right.
and that
That's not
implies,
No, that's a different version to the one I know.
you know, that she's given this child. Well, this is, yeah, and she has the child, and then the Selkie turns up and tells her about how he's going to come later and take the kid and teach it to sing, and then she'll marry a gunner, and the gunner will kill both my young son and me, and her heart breaks at this prophecy.
Yeah.
And as Vicky in chat has pointed out, Vicky Fielden has pointed out, there's still time to sing it. I'm just not quite sure it's currently in working repertoire, so maybe after
I'd
falling
quite like
off.
to do it, but I've never not actually got as far as putting it into either my repertoire
Or
years
ours.
back or ours.
Yeah,
But I think there's space in there. Maybe it needs tweaking, probably.
yeah, and that realization that nurse in that context was not nurse in a modern context. It's a wet nurse. It's a woman who's quite possibly lost a child and has had a child placed with her.
Yeah.
And that massively changes the interpretation.
It does.
Although, as someone else pointed out, the Silkie was a very useful myth for a child born the wrong side of the blanket. So there's that argument as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
What's my book in?
it's still a song that is in flux with me, I think, which is why it's not in working repertoire. Once stuff stops being in flux, it properly locks in. Vicky has suggested, not me, David. Still time to sing it. She's not wrong. But yeah, it's interesting. I quite like sometimes with ballads that there is so much left out.
Yeah.
You know, even when it's got 30-something verses, there's
stuff left out.
it starts
I mean,
halfway through the story so often.
Yeah, it does. I like the way that that I love the metaphors, which are never, well, because they're metaphors, they're never explicit. You know,
Yeah.
so often a maid will go for a wash in a stream, and the next verse she's pregnant.
Yes. Or someone plays a fiddle.
Or she's gathering something in a field, and the next verse she's pregnant. You know, it's and so many awful things happen to people with no explanation of why. So we do a version of The Rose and the Lily. Well, why? Why does her brother kill her? It's never her mum, her dad, her sister, her other brother. They've all agreed that this is a good marriage to make. But this brother, no, kill her.
Is it another incest
But
one?
there's no,
it's not.
it's not an incest one.
Because that's often,
She
you know,
marries. She
Yeah,
marries.
I mean, that's sort of Lucy Wan territory, isn't it?
yeah, and yeah, I mean, so many.
Which is a dismal song.
Yeah.
But it isn't. That
No,
isn't.
Rosenwood
It isn't
is quite
even
different.
implied actually
No.
at any point.
No,
There just seems to be.
it's
I mean,
almost
we've-
like I guess we might call it an honour killing.
Yeah. I think there's quite a bit of that in.
Or it would fall
Yeah.
into that category, but
You know, I mean, where am I? What am I talking about? I don't know what I'm talking about. A song flitted into my head and then flitted out again. But
then
certainly,
flitted out.
honour killing is definitely one of those concepts you can quite easily see fitting into the motives
Yeah.
of quite a few
Yeah.
oh yeah,
ballads.
Yeah. I think it's the only reasonable explanation we've come up with for why
Certain
he would
psychotic values of reasonable,
yeah,
plausible.
exactly.
Let's go with plausible.
Let's go with plausible, not reasonable.
Well,
Yeah.
plausibly psychotic.
Yes. Yeah. God. I mean, it's a minefield, isn't it? Really, choosing
It
what
is.
folk
It
songs
really
to
is.
sing. You know, just
And certainly when you just run through so many of those traditional songs, and there are some very bizarre ones
yeah.
which are
Yeah.
quite horrible,
Yep.
like Long Lankin,
Oh God, yes.
God,
which
that's
is
so horrible.
very disturbing.
Two very nasty people in it.
Absolutely,
Oh,
but
my God.
there seems to be a historical
Yeah.
component in there where it was not unusual for builders to take revenge on their masters who got them to do their buildings. So masons
Yeah.
have been ostensibly paid to do the work on their houses, and then weren't paid,
Yeah.
and then would take revenge.
Yeah.
What,
and
by doing awful things?
Yeah, it was not. It's certainly in there in some of the within the history around that time.
Oh God!
I mean,
Pay your builder.
the very strong moral
always
pay your builder in
Pay your builder.
in
Yeah.
Lankin. Yeah. Also, you know, get a trustworthy nurse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And bury the right things in your wall to keep
Yeah.
you safe and secure.
Oh,
I lived it for a
I've
time.
not heard that bit.
Amazing.
Oh no, there's lots of that. I lived in a village in the middle of Kent called Yalding, which is where three rivers meet to run it, with Medway being the main one coming away. And that's a really old village. It's been there a long time.
Yeah.
And we knew some people in one of the old houses. And when they were renovating the house, they took away some of the old lath and plaster and lathe walls. And inside one of them was a pair of children's shoes.
Oh yeah, when we
little
lived in
box.
when we lived
And
in
they'd been built into the wall.
Yeah.
when we lived in Newark, we had to redo a very old staircase in a 15th century house, and there was a pair of children's shoes behind the staircase. It's
Yeah, 15th, 16th century would be right for that particular house too.
It's
Yeah.
an odd.
It's
Yeah.
a really
It's
odd
like
thing. There was a
witches' marks
Yeah.
on the
on the
on
hearth.
the lintel path.
There was an amazing exhibition, wasn't there, a couple of years ago?
Oh, the one in Oxford.
Yeah,
Yeah. that was-
of what was it called? It was witchcraft. It was
Right.
kind of based around witchcraft. It was about the time that Faye was beginning to do the whole fairies thing, and it came up just at the right time. And they had built a kind of a perspex fronted wall of a house and put in it all these things that had actually been found,
Right.
hadn't they? But all there for different reasons. It's completely fascinating what people used to think would help. And witch bottles, so bottles full of herbs and bits of yourself and bits of your hair that would protect you from witches.
Or you could turn them around the other way and inflict pain and damage on somebody else if you got the bits of them.
And I mean, the folklore around the glass floats for fishing nets that would get washed up and were called by some. You'll see folklore around them referring to them as witch balls, and it's like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't know what fishermen use, do you, or used to use to have drift nets do their thing. But yeah, just the
Yeah.
built environment is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And still, I mean, I'm quite sure that, when they finished building Canary Wharf, the topping out ceremony probably would have been utterly familiar to someone who built a house hundreds of years ago. I mean, there's that lovely Kipling one about Noah turning up at a shipyard. And
Right.
how very little since things were made, things have changed in the shipping trade. And it's basically Noah having a chat with the bloke who's building a new boat and reminiscing about when he built his boat. And it's one of those non-more Kipling poems in a sense. You just, no one else could have written it. It's so him. But it's and it has that. Sorry, hang on a minute. That fabulous facility for thumping rhythmic verse that he could do. And it's worth seeking out anyway. I think it's called The Shipwright's Trade. I've got a beautiful edition of it with wood engravings by Colin C. Painting that just is one of those little treasures of the house, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do.
It's been a while since I bought an artist's book and I'm feeling bad about it now because they're just a delight.
We bought, what's the most recent one we bought? The Boy, the Horse, the Mole, and the
Yeah, Charles Mackesy.
Fox. Charles Mackesy, have you come
Right.
across him?
No.
So I think you would recognise it. He did a beautiful book just about a wandering journey of a
boy.
strange collection of things, a horse and a boy and a mole who loves cake. And there's a fox as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a fox.
But
And it's just full of
It's just
really
beautiful.
good day-to-day
Simple.
philosophy.
Yeah.
It seems such a long way that we've got to go. We've come so far, yes, but you've taken these steps and look what you've achieved.
Yeah, just really little
Little things like
Yeah.
that.
with beautiful,
And at the
simple
moment,
drawings.
I know he puts something onto Twitter every day, one of his drawings.
Oh, right.
And the number of people who are finding solace, comfort,
Yes.
or just chime their feelings chime
Yeah.
with exactly what he's put on.
Yeah, there's a guy in Craster in Northumberland who posts the
the
picture every
pictures, I
day.
see you
And
put them
they're
up.
just really, and the fact that, often from day to day, they don't look much different. And then suddenly there'll be one of those days when it's just blindingly beautiful. You know, you just that's a Turner morning. And
Yes.
and there's another chap in Withensea who posts a pebble of the day. And some of those
That's a good
are
one.
just holds a
I
pebble
like
up
that.
like that and takes a photograph
Yeah.
of it. And some of those are sublimely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And all those little and then there's what they're called, Trad Song Tuesday that does that thing with Trad Song Tuesday, the theme every Tuesday, and people contribute stuff. That's a really life affirming account. Do you know about them?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do. Do you know? I have heard
Funny
of
you should
Trad Song
mention that.
Tuesday. Funny you should mention that. It is. It's a brilliant thing.
Yeah.
Some weeks are more challenging than others. I
Yes.
have to say, as one of the people behind the wheel, it's sometimes because I'm not involved in the choice of topic, one of the other people does that, and sometimes I see that go up on a Thursday and just think, oh God, really?
Engineering
I've
this
got
week.
to find 6 or 7 songs about that.
Engineering this week completely threw me.
Engineering was really difficult.
Although, as someone pointed out, Mary Ellen Carter, it occurred to me later, civil engineering, so young bankers in there, a bunch of stuff too late to record, of course.
Yeah, that particularly excellent song from Peggy Seeger.
Of course, yes, going to be an engineer.
That
Yeah,
was fantastic.
yeah.
Very,
We got a signed copy of the 7-inch of that because
Nice.
which was gifted to my stepdaughter because she was drafted to sell records at, I'm not sure which folk club it was, when she was about 7 or 8, and they had Peggy and Ewan as a guest. So at the end of it, Peggy gave her a copy of Gonna Be an Engineer signed.
Oh, brilliant. And is she an engineer? No.
No, God, no. She makes fused glass. She does it really well.
Oh, gorgeous.
It's gorgeous
That's kind
stuff.
of engineering.
Sort of engine, yeah.
That's sort of engineering.
Yeah. And Hugh Waterhouse is suggesting that this guy on Friday night who swaps songs with people is quite life-affirming, which is very nice of him.
Yeah, I think I would agree with him.
Very nice format.
But
Yeah.
no, if we just talk about Trads on Tuesday for a minute, it is a remarkable thing.
Yeah.
And it's, it's garnered such a lot of interest.
Hmm.
And
Nearly a year old.
no, Trads on Tuesday's older, isn't it? COVID Sings is nearly a year old.
Yeah.
Oh,
Trads on Tuesday has been going much
Is-
longer.
Nearly 2.5 years now, isn't it?
Is it that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Something
think
like.
it is. I'd have to have a look.
It
Yeah.
came in on an
It
autumn
feels
term,
like
if memory
I've been
serves.
doing it all of my life,
Yeah.
I have to say. But it's a great thing. Another
Yeah.
one of Faye's brilliant ideas. I don't know where she gets them all from.
How
but
did
it's
she
just-
get the funding
she-
for that fairies thing? Just how?
She wrote one hell of an application.
I bet she.
That's
Have you read
how.
it?
That's what the application.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
I mean, wow.
She's
What a.
just unbelievably inventive, isn't she?
Isn't
Really?
she just?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's fabulous. But she had the idea, and I think she did it on her own for a few weeks.
She did, yeah.
And then I think she thought, oh no, I can't be doing this on my own.
Especially
and
on a
wrote
teaching
in-
day.
Yeah. So wrote the mothers of us in, and it's an absolute joy, really. A joy to do, and you find yourself, I find myself in that slot between 8:30 and 10 on a Tuesday morning. I don't think about anything else.
Yeah.
I sit at the table in my pyjamas with my cup of tea, and
Toast.
sometimes I'm swearing because I can't find anything. But usually I end up in such a deep rabbit hole in the Bodleian Ballads site that I have to drag myself out to find something to post. It's just joyful to have an hour and a half every week set aside to focus on that stuff.
And
And the
presumably,
stuff that, sorry.
presumably in the Bodleian as well, all that stuff you find that's not actually on your theme but still really interesting. You're kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
that's going on my to-do list. That's going on my to-do list.
Absolutely. I've stopped making to-do lists of those. They were just getting so long.
Yeah.
But you come across songs and you just think, I've got pages of notebooks and diaries all over the place that just have scribblings of titles of
Yeah.
ballads written on them, and I can't remember where I saw them or why I saw them or what I thought would be good. But I obviously at the time thought, oh, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
In theory, this should be a really good resource for our next album. If only we knew what the codes were.
Oh. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the full English is an amazing resource by itself. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very easy to stop there because it's not. It's not complete, is it? But still,
No.
just amazing what resources are now available
It is.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at the sort of surface level, there's stuff like Mainly Norfolk and Mudcat,
Yeah.
which are just I bow down.
Mainly Norfolk is unbelievable.
We apparently you're not supposed to campaign and talk about it, but I've nominated him for a gold badge because fucking hell,
I know.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, he buys all the records. Has he bought yours yet? Are you on there?
We might have to send it to him.
I know.
I think what's so interesting
Yeah.
is not because he's not actually English, is he?
No, he's an English
Belgian?
professor in Germany.
Yeah.
There's a little. If you scroll down to the bottom of the site, there's a little colophon or something that you can then
Yeah.
link to, and it has some information about him. And it's like, yeah, he it was originally on his university homepage, and the university decided that it was bringing the university into ill repute, so he had to go and find hosting of his own, which is how it became mainly Norfolk.info. And you
Right.
just, and I mean, his running costs cannot be trivial because, as far as I can tell, if he's put a lyric, and he transcribes every sleeve note. He doesn't do lyric transcription, but he'll happily take lyric transcriptions from other people.
Yeah.
He transcribes
Yeah,
the
then
sleeve
put them
notes
on.
and then moves them to each individual song rather than by record. The work he does is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is.
The
It is.
amount of linking that
Yeah.
he manages to put in there is
Yeah.
just, that's a lot of work.
It's
It's a very beautiful thing.
and it's epically usable, which is more
Yeah.
than you can say for the full English.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Much as I love the full English, it's
yeah, it's a bit clunky.
it's yeah. I really, but then again, it's still, you know, in a world in which the PRS site exists, no other music resource can be as bad.
I haven't had any experience with that. You have.
Lucky
PRS.
blighter.
Yeah, well,
David did all that
I did all
PRS
the
stuff.
PPL and PRS stuff for us. It was a nightmare to start with, but once you've done it, you can just push it to one side. It's done.
But it's still annoying, clunky, and slow. And of course, strictly with these, every time I sing a song on this that I haven't sung, I really ought to register an arrangement at PRS at the very least,
Yeah.
so that, you know. But I really can't be asked. The website drives me up the wall. And PPL, you still have to print out a paper thing of the thing, and then you're allowed to scan it and send it back, but you're not allowed to do a digital signature. You just, it's the 21st century. What are you doing? And then I remember it's the music business, and they don't give a fuck about making life easy for people, or it's in fact they actually want to make it hard, because that way they have incentives to have, you know, you're going to go, oh fuck it, I'll just use a publisher. Just
Yeah.
Have they paid you any money yet?
God no. Well, there's a minimum payout anyway, isn't there?
Yeah. We had £2.36.
Well, hey, PPL, PPL,
yeah,
I
that's
presume.
PPL.
Yeah, I've not registered with PPL yet. I've still not got my finger out. So
Well, it's worth it. You can buy yourself.
I too
Something
could have
that's only
£2.50. I could
£2.36.
earn almost as much as I earn on here in about 5 minutes. Thank you all, by the way. I'm just going to, while I'm here, while I've mentioned this, ko-fi.com/PD Corley, by the way, if anyone would care to help support this stream, because it's entirely supported by your generous donations. And I would like to thank Marion Beat, anonymous Ko-fi supporter, Lexi and Rick, another regular, another anonymous Ko-fi supporter, and Vicky Appleton Fielden, who I think you know Vicky. She's a
I do
regular.
know
at,
Vicky, yeah.
very, very kind donations. Thank you very much. I'm not actually having pizza tonight, but it seems I can afford one.
Excellent.
I count it a successful night if I can buy a pizza and have some
You can
change.
afford a pizza. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You know.
that's really successful.
I'm not going to get rich doing this. Well, no one's going to get rich doing this, but it's still just love. Thank you all in chat. Thank you all very much for your generosity. It's not anything you have to do, but it's always a delight when you do. And I hope you've.
And thank you for coming.
Yeah.
You know, last weekend when we had 2 little launch gigs for the album, you know, there's always this kind of fear, always kind of feeling of, oh, who's going to give up their Friday night to log on to Zoom again when they've probably been on Zoom all week and spend a couple of hours with us? And people did, and people are so generous with their time and their support and their energy. And,
Yeah, it was really good.
you know, and the same at COVID Sings when people bring their songs and everything. It's just the most brilliant group of people to be involved in.
Yes.
I remember when I was working on the Fairies project, I met Terry Windley, and we spent some time together. Lovely woman. And I was just talking about singing in folk clubs and how brilliant it is, and she just looked at me and she said, "You've found your tribe." And I welled up. I just thought, oh my God, I found my tribe.
Absolutely. I was a big reader of science fiction and fantasy in the sort of 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And Terry was one of those people in that period. I think she won Hugo as best editor for a bewildering number of years in a row. And it was, especially in fantasy, if Terry edited it, you needed to read it.
Yeah.
I discovered Ellen. Well, the book I seduced my wife with was Thomas the Rhymer by Ellen Kushner, which was another great book for reading aloud. And that was, commissioned and edited by Terry Windling. And then there's a brilliant literary adaptation of Tam Lin, again commissioned and edited by Terry Windling. And you go through this list, and it's like, oh, it's another Terry. It's another Terry, and and I've read The Woodwife, the sort of novel, which
it just transports you, doesn't it?
It didn't do it for me.
Oh, did it not?
No, but
God, it did it for me.
But that's not the. I could in reading it, I could understand why it did what it did for people it did it for, if that makes any sense. But I was just a bit too. It didn't. Yeah. But
I think the thing that really got me was I hadn't read anything quite like that before, which took magic and human beings and nature and wound them all together in the way that she did. And that was the magic of it for me, was that I could smell what it smelt like to be in that heat on that mountainside with the coyotes, and I could see the people, the characters so clearly in my head. And that it was one of those, for me, it was one of those ones that I didn't put down from the.
I mean, there's quite a lot of modern urban fantasy, and you can't really discuss modern urban fantasy. Well, you can, but you're an idiot, without looking at the contributions of Terry Windling. There's a more sort of Butch, the Jim Butcher, more modern stuff. But that early creation of the genre with people like Emma Bull and Will Shetterly and your man up in the Newford novels. Someone in chat, because we've got science fiction fans here, will tell me all that sort of stuff is Terry is absolutely at the heart of that creation of a genre, and that's a thing and a half, really. I think my thing with Woodwife is that I found I'm a naturalist. I'm not really at home with the supernatural. I'm very much that the world is explicable, and in a sense, I think that for me, The Woodwife was possibly too close to the real world, and I couldn't deal with the mysticism.
It chimed with me very much in the way that Renadine does. It was such it was almost a discussion of how close human beings are to being wild.
Yes.
And how nature is a magical force that we have no hope of understanding, haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what we understand about how the natural world works. And that, I think, when I read it, I was going through a real period of discovery, and I was singing more, and I just finished the MA, and so all sorts of new worlds had opened up to me, and my love of the natural world was growing quite fast at the time. And so I guess for me, maybe that was my book that came around at just the right time.
Just at the right moment,
It brought all of these things together, all of this mysticism and the natural world and the inexplicability, inexplicableness of things that happen.
Yes. Do you think even Terry understands exactly what happened in that novel?
No. and there must be some of it which is just this beautiful, mystical, cloudy glow on the edge of her vision, like it is for me. There are bits of it that are like that.
Because the impression I got on meeting her at the Modern Fairies weekend was that she's one of the, she uses it. It's a fairy, and that stuff is a tool in her writing. Whereas, Jackie Morris, she sees fairies. And I don't know if there were other people. I can't remember. I can't remember who else there was there. But I remember Faye saying about how I'm far more in the camp of your cameraman, who had very little time for it, in terms of it being a real thing in the real world.
I think there are different levels of experience of that kind of magic and mysticism. Who am I to say whether Jackie Morris has seen a fairy or not?
Yeah.
I just know what I have seen and haven't seen. I haven't seen a fairy.
No.
If they're around, then I hope I do one day. But I do know there's an awful lot about what happens in nature that I don't understand and seem quite magical to me. And I'm quite prepared to believe that it is magical.
Yeah.
I don't. As a scientist, do you feel the same, or do you feel
I think
mysticism?
there are mystical components of the natural world which are not readily explained, but with the scientific background as a biologist, there are quite hard edges to where I am, and that other side, which is more mystical. But I can also see where some of that mysticism has grown up through the ages, because animals and birds don't behave the way that humans think they ought to. They do things that don't always make sense. They make sense for the animals, I'm sure. They don't make sense to the humans watching them. And so that's where the myths start to grow.
Yes.
Yeah.
But maybe there's more to it than that.
I mean...
And we don't know.
The myths around the hair. You look at the life cycle of the hair and you understand where they come. You understand why there are myths around it, because it makes no sense in many respects. Absolute kudos to the many naturalists who have done the observation and done the work and have worked out things about how that hair is doing what it does. But the experience of seeing a hair is a very different thing.
Yeah, and then rolling that into the healing women.
Yeah.
The witches, the shapeshifters.
Yeah.
I mean, that, again, you get little bits and pieces of stories or old country tales.
Yeah.
Where, the local supposed witch has been shot.
Yes.
But as a hare. And the next day the lady is limping.
Yep. Yeah.
So you get little bits and pieces like that. Owls are in the same category.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love the fact that the further north you go, certainly up into Scotland and the Highlands and then out to the islands, owls are souls.
Owls are, sorry? Spells?
Souls. Or the searching souls.
Yeah.
Because of the way they move, they're so quiet. They just appear, certainly barn owls, because they're white as well.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to see a barn owl by surprise and you know where the phantom ghost image comes from, don't you?
Yeah,
it's just like,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've got a song about a hare. Is it our turn or is it your turn? I
It
can't
can
remember
be.
where we've got to.
I mean, I was just thinking of that amazing confession that Faye sings of the I Will Go Into Her Hair.
Of Isabella Gowdy.
Yeah, that's lovely.
I mean, you want to talk about women with agency? Dear God.
Yeah.
I mean, the woman under torture comes out with that. I mean, that's someone saying to her interrogators, isn't it? Anyway.
Yeah.
But yes,
It is.
sing a hair song.
Yeah. we've got a hair song.
Fantastic.
We haven't played it for a while, have we?
No, we haven't. No.
Can you remember it? I could sing it a cappella if you want. Shall I sing it a cappella?
I think you're going to have to, because I can't remember the guitar part.
Okey-dokey. On yonder hill there sits a hare, full of worry, grief and care, and her lodgings it was bare, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho," and her lodgings it was bare, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho." Now there came a huntsman riding by, and on this poor hare he cast his eye, and other bogs hallooed his dogs, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho," and other bogs hallooed his dogs, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho." Now she's run from hill to hill, all for the dogs to try their skill, and kill the poor hare that never done ill, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho," and kill the poor hare that never done ill, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho." And now she's turned and turned again, merrily as she's tripped the plain, and may she live to run again, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho," and may she live to run again, singing, "Oh, brave boys, hi-ho."
I forgot to turn off echo cancellation, so for the first half you weren't sounding quite as good as you were in the second half, but that was gorgeous.
Isn't it gorgeous? I love that song.
Yeah.
It's quite good with the guitar part too, when I can remember it.
No, I
Working
did put you on
repertoire
the
is a
spot
thing,
there,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, it just went out of my head. I couldn't think how it went.
And we've been working on the album stuff for the
You've
last
had your blinkers
few
on.
weeks, so we haven't played anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a gorgeous, gorgeous song. I found it. I actually transposed the singing of a Northern Irish singer whose name I can't remember, singing it back in the 50s as part of my MA. And then I learned to sing it. And then I came across a fabulous singer whose name escapes me, who was married to Steve Tilston.
Maggie Boyle.
Maggie Boyle. Came across her version of it, which is really beautiful. So
If you're
both
studying
of
with
those-
Faye, you're going to come across Maggie Boyle.
I think I came across her on my own, actually. I think it was independently. But her version of it was beautiful as well. So I think I've ended up with a kind of my own bit and an Irish bit and Maggie Boyle's bit as well. You know?
So you've made it yours,
Lovely. Yeah.
which is,
Gorgeous song.
part of the game, isn't it?
There you go. That's
He's just remembered the tune.
he's remembered it now.
A bit late. So at least I got there.
You did.
Yeah.
You got that.
Marion is talking about commenting on she's not been one for going out to folk clubs because she's too shy, but can come out to this every Friday for a few quid. So yeah, it's nice to be doing. I think
Lovely.
I'm not certainly not going to stop this once we're allowed to go out. I think it's
No.
I think it's I remember
Different form of going out.
it's a different form of going out, and it's a different form. You know, the being out and performing with an audience live is amazing, and there's no two ways about it. It's a magical experience, but that doesn't mean that something like this or other people I've seen who've worked out how to stream and have a format that works for them. That doesn't mean that isn't still a fine way of performing. Certainly, the weeks when I stream without a guest are much harder work for me. It's much as I love these people in chat and they're active and friendly and chatty and all that sort of stuff. It's not the same as being able to look at someone. I've even gone and bought a teleprompter so I can look you in the eye without having to be going, I'm looking at a camera now. So that I've actually got a picture of you using that Pepper's Ghost illusion bang slap in front of the camera, which is why we can look at each other. And to me, it makes a huge difference. It just is.
I think it would be difficult. It would be difficult to stop COVID things now because it's formed itself into such a community.
It's pretty much a club.
It is.
And it's accessible in a way that folk clubs aren't for some people.
Yeah.
I mean, for so many reasons. I mean, it's not. I mean, the we could spend all night talking about what's wrong with folk clubs. I mean, many things are right about folk clubs, but
they are. Focus on the right. I think.
Every time you look at them turning up at a folk club as an outsider and not knowing how they work, you stop wondering about why folk clubs are shrinking. Because
you do.
Yeah.
But it's a vicious circle, though, isn't it? Because the thing that makes them very special is the thing that also makes them exclusive.
Yes.
Because the people there feel like they are part of an exclusive thing. Now, how do you take that feeling and make that inclusive? It's a difficult thing to do.
Some clubs I know don't think of that in terms of they think they're inclusive, and that's kind of worse because they're not.
It is. You at least should recognise your weaknesses.
You know, the one that always used to annoy me was the people banging on about young people turning up and being on their phones. It's like, how do you know they're not on their phones messaging all their mates and saying, "Here, I'm in this gig, and there's this old guy singing his song, and it's fucking amazing." You just don't know, and
they're there.
And they're bloody there.
They're not talking loudly.
Yeah.
They're not being rowdy. They're there and they're sitting.
Yeah.
Young people today are so very different to how we were and to how the people...
And so very similar.
One bit, but in some ways very similar. Yes. But they can be completely, apparently absorbed in a device and yet still listening to everything that's going on around them.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're there and quiet and attentive and listening is enough.
Although I've told this story before and I will no doubt tell it again, but I remember Lou Killen talking about doing a gig down in London at one of Sam Lee's clubs.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if I've told you this, but I'm going to tell it again anyway. I know the audience has heard it, but I don't care. And Lou was there doing her regular gig with the concertina, and she'd done Pleasant and Delightful. And it was this, it was that London audience, which is a different audience. Sam Lee's audience to the Magpie's Nest is a different audience from most of the folk clubs in London. It's a much younger audience. And she'd done Pleasant and Delightful, and she'd sung a few songs, and there was people were quiet, but there were the faces glowing from phones in front of stuff and stuff like that. And then she said she put the concertina down to sing a ballad. Can't remember what it was. Doesn't really matter. And she said by the end of the ballad, nobody's face was lit up. And the quality of listening, because what had happened was people were just gone, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Whoa. And she didn't pick the concertina up the rest of the night. And it's a story I love as an unaccompanied singer. Yeah. that if I do my job
Really
right by a
interesting,
song,
isn't
I
it?
know
Yeah.
it's going to grab people by the short hairs and it's going to make them listen. And if I can't do that, then I'm not doing the job right. It's,
Yeah.
How do you go about? I mean, I only did a handful of gigs as an unaccompanied singer out there in the world, because my instrument's a piano. That kind of makes life quite tricky, really. So I did kind of 4 or 5 gigs, for 2 halves of kind of half an hour each as an unaccompanied singer. And it was, I mean, all singing live is hard work, but it was unbelievably hard. How do you go about doing that?
Well, you've probably done more unaccompanied gigs than I have in terms of in public. I've not had many bookings. I'm an arrogant fucker.
Okay.
I know what I'm doing is good. I know that I know how to perform. I know how to sing a good chorus songs are really, really fucking important. You might know that an audience is going to sit there enchanted by a big ballad, but you don't open with it because you need to win their trust that you can entertain them. So my sort of model for how I perform was Johnny Collins. I don't know if you ever saw him. And he was almost a parody folk singer. I don't mean that's a really... But he would turn up with a guitar. If you saw Johnny at a club, he'd be there with his guitar. And he'd get the guitar out and he'd take the time and he'd tune it and he'd put it on the table by the thing, and people would sort of slightly... Because if people knew who he was, they'd be sort of slightly wondering why there was a guitar there. And for maybe 2 songs in the set, he'd take a note from one of the strings.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the rest of the time, the guitar just sat there. But the thing about a guitar or a banjo, anything with that stringed instrument shape, is it screams musician to people.
Yeah.
So he when he was first going to folk clubs as a young man, the guitar was brilliant because people knew that they ought to offer him a floor spot. Do you know what I mean?
Even though he didn't use it.
Even though he didn't use it, and he would spend an evening singing mostly really great chorus songs, probably a few shanties, although it wasn't what he loved. Unless he was booked for shanty gigs a lot, and was very good at singing them. And he was very good at sitting in the audience and listening to floor singers and recognising a good song by a local songwriter. And that meant that what you could rely on from... I heard of Graham Miles through Johnny Collins. I heard of Dave Webber through Johnny Collins. I heard of Dave Goulder through Johnny Collins, because Johnny would come along and sing these brilliant chorus songs by artists who were the only reason they got, kind of, to a certain extent, the only reason they got national recognition and booking is because people like Johnny picked up their songs and carried them to other clubs. And I love that about that sort of middle rank artist and those middle rank clubs. And I don't think they're there anymore, sadly. But his performance of that thing that Vicky's saying in chat, confidence in material, and picking stuff that's right. And the Vicky Fielden saying Jean Redpath said she used to go on stage with a guitar to help the audience relax, but never used it. And I kind of think I ought to really bring the banjo as a threat. Because the problem with the banjo is I'm 40 years behind on practice. It's just...
Well, you'll never catch up.
I know, and I never will. And most of the time, I don't actually... Anyway, but so that thing is that thing about just letting people relax into knowing that they can trust you as a performer. And chorus songs do that. Really good stories, funny songs do that. And once you've gained that trust, you can sing anything.
Yeah.
And some of that is that I am a big, bluff, white bloke with a beard. I look like an unaccompanied folk singer. You know, and I look like the kind of unaccompanied folk singer who's got, you know, choruses on tap and can belt out a shanty with the rest of them and all that sort of stuff. And that doesn't hurt. And the cliche of the sort of young-looking woman with a guitar or a fucking ukulele or whatever it might be is because folk club audiences have their prejudices. You've just got a harder job. I have it so much easier than you do. And I would crawl on broken glass to hear someone like, you know, Lucy Farrell singing solo and unaccompanied.
Yeah.
But I don't know who's going to book her to do that. And on the occasions when people have, she's still come along with an instrumentalist, and it's been a great shame. But just the sort of expectation from someone like me is, I just have it easier. I'm playing this on easy level, you know, and it ain't right, but.
Well, it's the playground we're playing in, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
but it also means I owe it to everybody else to be as good as I fucking well can be. Because if I'm not, it's just rude. You know, do you know what I mean? It's just I don't get the sort of slapdash is good enough. It's
it's not.
I found when writing songs that I don't very much, but unless at the end of it I'm thinking, well, you know, that's a really fucking good song, I'm never going to sing it. It's got to be. People say, oh, well, you're not trying to be Dylan. I'm like, but actually, when I'm performing, every song I choose is competing with all the other great songs. And if I write a song that I don't think stands up to something else about the same thing, I'm going to sing the other thing, not the thing I wrote. And I think it's, if there's one thing that sets my teeth on edge, it's a half-assed job. It's just.
No, I agree, and it's one of the things that makes folk clubs difficult. It makes it difficult for folk clubs to expand their appeal, I think, is that for better or worse, they are places where people come to experiment. They come to experiment with who they are, with what they do, and there are very different levels of preparation within that process. And that's a tricky element of
I kind of love that about it as well. I love that people can come to a folk club, get a floor spot on Just Asking, and be either sublimely good or buttock-clenchingly awful. And as long as I don't like a half-assed job. I don't, but it's. I also love the idea, as Jill says a lot. I think she's quoting William Burroughs. If a thing's worth doing, it's worth doing badly. And the thing that really sets my teeth on edge are the people who do it badly, and then I see them a year later, and they're doing it just as badly as they did it a year ago. No. If you're still doing it badly, but you're doing it better, that's brilliant.
That's brilliant.
And so I love the inclusiveness of folk clubs about just everyone's free and should have a go. Although again, at the same time, I see that for some people that's quite daunting as well. So it's a tough nut to crack. How do we perpetuate a folk scene?
Yeah. I don't know, but I think Faye's working on it, so it's okay.
I think you're right. Yeah.
She'll do it.
Faye'll sort it out. She's already fixed folk clubs.
Yeah.
Royal Trads is just it's just all the best bits, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It is. I can't wait to play there. It'll be good when that's all up and running again.
I very much looking forward.
I think you should sing us something.
Yeah, I did. They booked me, and it was a magical night.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it brilliant?
For the first time, almost ever, I sat down and wrote a set list.
Did you?
And then I threw it out. Because that, for me, that's the other thing about performing. It's great freedom about performing as an unaccompanied singer is you don't have to retune. You don't have to follow a set list. You've got no one else who's going, what the fuck is he doing? You just can go, okay, well, that song sparked that off, and maybe that floor spot that somebody did sparked that off, and maybe that audience response, oh, they like these. And you can just go, right, okay, I'll just go where it goes. I probably know how I'm going to end the set when they ask me for 2 more songs. And that, so I think the other thing that about being able to perform unaccompanied is having repertoire in depth. There's nothing quite like it. There's really nothing quite like it. Yeah. Marion has requested The Land by Bellamy and Kipling. So I'm going to sing that. Thank you for the request, Marion. Let's see if I can remember it. I sung it last night in a session, so I think I should be okay. Have I got that button pressed right? Hold on a moment. Yeah, okay. There's a big lag on my YouTube display. When Julius Fabricius, sub-prefect of the Weald, in the days of Diocletian owned our lower river field, he called to him Hobdenius, a Briton of the clay, saying, what about that river bit for laying into hay? And that aged Hobden answers, I remember as a lad, my father told your father that she wanted draining bad, and the more that you neglect her, the less you'll get her clean. Have it just as you've a mind to. But if I was you, I'd drain. So they drained it long and crossways in the lavish Roman style. Still today among the river drift we find their ancient tile, and in drouthy middle August, when the bones of meadows show, we can trace the line they followed 1800 years ago. And Julius Fabricius died as even prefects do, and after certain centuries Imperial Rome died too. Then did robbers enter Britain from across the northern main, and our lower river field was won by Ogier the Dane. Well could Ogier work his warboat, well could Ogier wield his brand. Much he knew of foaming waters, not so much of farming land. So we called to him a Hobden of the old unaltered blood, saying, what about that river bit? She doesn't look no good. And that aged Hobden answered, tain't for me to interfere, but I known that bitter meadow now for 55 year. Have it just as you've a mind to, but I've proved it time on time. If you want to change her nature, you have got to give her lime. Ogier sent his wains to Lewis 30 hours solemn walk, and drew back great abundance of the cool grey healing chalk. And old Hobden spread it broadcast, never heeding what was in't, which is why in cleaning ditches now and then we find a flint. Ogier died, his sons grew English, Anglo-Saxon was their name, till out of blossom Normandy another pirate came. When Duke William conquered England and divided with his men, our lower river field he gave to William of Warenne. But the brook, you know her habit, rose one rainy autumn night, and tore down sodden flitches of the banks to left and right. So says William to his bailiff, as they rode their dripping rounds, oh, but what about that river bit? The brook's got up no bounds. And that aged Hobden answered, take my business to advise, but you might have known 'twould happen from the way the valley lies. Where you can't hold back the water, you must try and save the soil. Have it just as you've a mind to, But if I was you, I'd spile. So they spiled along the watercourse, with trunks of willow trees backed with planks of elm behind 'em, and immortal oaken knees. And when the spates of autumn whirl the gravel beds away, we will find their faithful fragments, iron hard in iron clay. George I, Quinti, Anno Sexto I, who own the river field, am fortified with title deed, attested, signed and sealed, guaranteeing me my assigns, my executors and heirs, all sorts of powers and profits, which are neither mine nor theirs. I have right of chase and warren, as my dignity requires. I can fish, but Hobden tickles. I can shoot, but Hobden wires. I repair, but he reopens certain gaps, which men allege have been used by every Hobden since a Hobden swapped a hedge. Should I dog his morning progress, or the track betray in due, demand the dinner basket into which my pheasant flew, confiscate the evening faggot under which my conies ran, and summons him to judgment, I would sooner summons Pan, for his dead are in the churchyard 30 generations laid. His name was old in history when Doomsday Book was made, and the passion and the piety and prowess of his line were seeded, rooted, fruited in some land the law calls mine. Not for any beasts that burrow, nor for any birds that fly, would I lose his large sound counsel, or his keen amending eye. He is bailiff, woodman, wheelwright, field surveyor, engineer, and if flagrantly a poacher, 'tain't for me to interfere. Oh, but what about that river bit? I turn to him again, with Fabricius and Ogier and William of Warren. Have it just as you've a mind to, but... And here he takes command, for whoever pays the taxes, Holmus Hobden owns the land.
That's a
Great song, isn't
What
it?
a great song.
Great tune Bellamy put to it.
Yeah, it's
Just. People say it's a really long song. It's only 5 verses.
Yeah. They're
Lot of
long though,
words.
aren't they?
5 longer.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of words. A lot of words. It's amazing how we still, the ones with lots of words, we still go for them, don't we?
Well,
Even though...
it's a story. I mean, I was talking with this about Matt Quinn last time. It's a story, and stories
Yeah.
are
Yes.
easy. It's the the good old ways, much harder to remember. Apparently,
Yeah.
the Watersons always missed one verse out. It's just never the same. And they all did it. The 4 of them be singing it, and they'd sing through it, and they'd do it, and blah, 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 and they would realise at the end of it, oh, shit, we missed that verse out. But
Yeah.
Waterson's telepathy being Waterson's telepathy, they never tried to miss out
Yeah.
different verses. It was just,
It's quite impressive.
they don't make them like that anymore, do they? They really
No.
don't.
No.
No, they don't. They really don't.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's getting towards my
I was
bedtime.
just looking at the clock and saying, where the hell did the time go? It's
I
25
know.
past 10.
We just did the same. I can't
Vicky
believe
was-
how fast it's gone.
Vicky Fielden is still hoping for the Selkie songs, so I think we're going to have to invite you back at some point in the future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. We can do that. Yeah, it'll be fine.
We can do that. That would be completely lovely.
And by that time, they might have learned it, Vicky, so that'll be good.
That'd be useful.
We'll learn it together. I tell you what, we will, Vicky, we'll make that one of our aims.
Brilliant.
One of the new ones to learn now that we've done and launched and released the
Yeah.
album
Yeah.
and can
Fantastic.
let those go.
Yeah.
We'll
Some
learn
new
the Selkie
material.
song.
Let me know when it's done and I'll invite you back.
Brilliant. We will
Yeah.
do. We will do. Can we sing you a song with lots of words?
Oh, yes, please. I'm explaining to you now, but I'm just about to nip somewhere else for important reasons. But the great beauty of this is I have a remote earphone. So you're not going to see me, and I'm not going to see you, but I'm still going to hear you. So,
Brilliant. Have you done what you need to do with the echo thing?
I will do what I need to do with the echo, and then I will mute my mic and put you on the big screen and bugger off for 5 minutes while you sing a song, or possibly less time than it takes you to sing a song. But
Okay.
Brilliant. All right, we'll see you in a minute. What are we singing?
Billy.
Billy, Don't You Weep. This is an old song.
oh yeah.
Yeah, cautionary tale, if ever there was one.
Sally, where are you going that you do look so gay? I know I haven't asked you out to take a walk today.
You haven't asked me, no indeed, and it's a tiny cheek of you. I bet you think I'm a couple of lads, well I've got a dozen or two.
So Billy, don't you weep for me. I'm going down to St. James's Park, my cousin Joe to see. Oh, Cousin Joe, now who is he? He's a soldier, I can tell. For I know you're fond of lobsters, but raw and boiled as well.
My cousin Joe's a guardsman, he's such a handsome chap, and he wears such fine mustachios and a stunning furry cap.
So Billy, don't you weep for me. I'm very fond of Cousin Joe, and I'll sit all on his knee.
We're going to the play tonight, Jack Shepherd for to see. And when that is all over, we'll all have a jolly good spree. I've got money for a pint of stout, and when we're short of tin, I'll even go and pawn my smock to buy a bottle of gin.
So Billy, don't you weep for me. I'm very fond of Cousin Joe, and I'll sit all on his knee. Oh, what's the use of him? He never can keep you. You'll have to work from morn till night, that's what you'll have to do. You'll have some shirts and pennies, sure I'll stand at the top. Mark my words, there's many a day you go very short of grub. So Sally, don't you weep for me. You go down to Cousin Joe and sit all on his knee. Well, in about 12 months after young Sally come back to me, said that she was sorry that she'd ever been on that spree. Wanted me to take it back, says I, it is no go. But do you think I'm searchable? Go back to Cousin Joe. So Sally, don't you come over me, for I see you have a baby to dance all on your knee.
Oh Billy, how can you serve me so? You really drive me mad. I'll have you up before the beacon, I'll swear you are its dad. And when you come before the bench, they will not let you speak. You'll have to keep the young one on 30 pence a week.
So Billy, how can you serve me so? For I'm sure the child belongs to you and not to Cousin Joe. Well, in a week she got this summons, so so it was no go. Magistrate decided that the child belonged to Joe. So she went up to Billy's backyard and quickly the door she shut. When at last they found her, she was drowned in a water butt. So young women, take a warning from me. Never love a soldier or sit all on his knee.
Oh, what a song!
Thank you.
It's
That's-
good, isn't it?
that's
I
a
love
nice-
that one.
That's a nice tune. It's basically Nick Jones's Halyard tune, isn't it? But it's still absolute cracker.
It is, but just
You've tweaked it
wound
nicely.
up a lot.
Pardon?
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
wound up a lot.
Yeah.
He sings a whole lot slower.
He never felt like he was taking it slow.
No, I know, but when you
do it
actually
that
listen to
fast.
it, but it does. The pace is just a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's-
good and it works really well. I love those conversation songs.
Yeah.
where you
Everyone
have-
in that song is despicable. Everyone in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see how her desperation leads her to do what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, she's still. I mean, she's a fucking Daily Mail stereotype of a single mother, isn't it? It's just.
Yeah.
yeah. It's not a
Making
happy tale,
Bad
is it?
choices.
But Billy's an arsehole. Dear God.
Yeah, but you know, maybe she broke his heart
Maybe.
when she went off with the soldier. Maybe she broke his heart,
But still.
but maybe not.
His reaction to her drowning herself is not someone who's had his heart broken.
Not really, no.
It's,
No, it's a tragic tale.
That
isn't
is.
it just? And a brilliant tune.
Yes, it is. It's great, and
Quite
it's,
brilliant tune.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's a good one.
Yeah, we like
Brilliantly
it.
sung
like
and performed
performing
by my guests.
Thank you.
Cambridge and Walker. I still think of you as Jenna and David. As far as I'm concerned, it's Walker and Cambridge. How did you decide? Because I'm in
What?
a
Who came first?
because at the moment with rehearsing with Emily or trying to get back to rehearsing, we've got that thing about what the fuck are we going to call ourselves? You know,
Yeah.
name and name is getting a bit old, but
Yeah.
what else are you going to do?
Yeah,
I
we
don't
sort of
know.
went round a bit of a loop like that, so I came up with a few bizarre names
Yeah.
and thought, doesn't really work.
But you know, I think you can go with name and name until something better
Yeah.
presents itself, like the Edgelarks.
Yes.
You know, that is a beautiful
It's a
name.
good name.
But they were
Yeah, it is good.
Hannah Martin and Philip Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Those are full names for years, weren't they?
Now
Before they
those
were
are folk
Edgelarks.
names.
They
They really are, aren't they? They're just
they are.
proper
Good
folk
folk
names. They are.
name. Yeah.
Pardon?
But we messed around with it for a while. We were Cambridge Walker, and
Mm-hmm.
somebody said that made us sound like dog walkers. So we got rid
So
of that.
moved off that one.
But I mean,
don't
also,
think
I mean,
ever
Waters and
actually-
Carthy kind of nicked that name form, didn't they? And now it's
They
just,
did.
you know,
They did. We don't think we ever even tried Walker and Cambridge, did we? Just doesn't scan right.
it does sound odd, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's odd.
I think
weird.
the other thing was that I'd been singing solo, and then we became the duo.
Right. Yes.
So maybe that was how we
Yeah.
ended up going that way round.
Yeah,
You're literally the junior partner, Jenna. That's what it is.
I am. Yeah, I literally am.
But highly valued.
Well done. Well done.
Very good. Tipped over the bar.
Yes, I think so. Slam dunk.
Yeah, definitely. Piers, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you on. It's been an absolute delight.
Very enjoyable.
It's been really lovely to have a chat.
We'll definitely have to have you back. I'm so
That would
crap at
be
booking, I
lovely.
definitely need to get people back because it's the hardest part about this is booking people. I don't know who's on next week. Just no idea.
Oh, no, it's tricky. You know, we have the same with Trads on Tuesday, booking special guests. It's just, you know, you have to be really organised, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember what the subject was I did, but it was definitely, my God, it takes your day up, doesn't it? And you do it every week. I mean, I know you do a third of it or a fourth of it or whatever, but still, it's still a chunk.
It's a proper commitment.
Yeah.
You can't, and you know, there have been a couple of times where I've forgotten, and it's got to about 2:00 in the morning, and I just go, oh,
But there's 4 of you now, so it doesn't show as much.
it doesn't show as much. But having that early morning slot, I
Yeah.
know there are people who post before I do at 8:30.
Yeah.
There are 3 or 4 people.
Well, I have been known to. Not
Yes.
recently. I'm being really lax about recording new stuff.
Yeah.
But it's
There's been the odd sort of very late night, Monday night conference
yes.
as to what the hell can
Why did we
do
pick this subject?
this? Why did they pick it? There aren't any songs
There aren't
about
any
this.
songs about
I mean, I have the thing because I know because it's Phase Baby. One of my things that I always try and do is to try and find a Dolly Parton song that will fit the theme.
that often works.
Have you
it's-
seen that video of Dolly getting vaccinated?
No,
I've heard of it.
Which it's lovely. She's
I presume she's singing it to Jolene.
yeah. She's
Yeah.
actually getting vaccinated as well.
Vaccine.
So she does that, and it sounds fabulous. And I think someone else wrote the parody, and she went, "Right, I'm having that. It's my song." But then she actually gets the vaccination live on the video. And the thing that really impressed me was that clearly she's nervous about it. She's not quite looking forward to it. She's a bit.
Yeah.
It's a needle. And the doctor does the thing, and you can see her relax. I was just like, "Oh, it doesn't hurt," and and because of that, because it's not something you can really act. You know, you can't act scared in that way that she was. She wasn't scared. She was just keyed up slightly.
Yeah.
And I found that I'd already had mine, so I knew it wasn't going to hurt.
Yeah.
But just the reassurance of seeing someone like that being, it's a little bit nerve wracking, but in the end, it's not going to hurt. And
No.
I just.
But it will mean so much to so many people.
Absolutely,
So many
she's
people
amazing.
will now get it done
Yes.
because she did that.
She did.
She is amazing. She's just.
She is. She
She
is
is.
amazing.
Yeah.
She is amazing.
I suppose I ought to sing a goodnight song.
Yeah.
Tell you what I'm going to sing. It's a song that I wrote because I've not sung any songs what I wrote tonight. So I think I'll. This is. I think you've heard it because I think I've sung it at COVID Sings when you were there. This is what a singing there will be. This started off as a nice, happy, optimistic song about how it's going to be great once we come out from under this dreadful COVID thing, and then reality impinged as I finished writing it, and it turned into a slightly angry, let's string these bastards up by the neck until they're dead by the end of this. So, you know, just
Good.
yeah.
Yeah. Say it like it is.
So yeah, this is what a singing there will be. Yeah, a song what I wrote. What a singing there will be in that day. Oh, what a singing there will be that sweet day. What a singing there will be when we can join in harmony. What a singing there will be in that day. Oh, we'll stay safe side in our homes until that day. Meeting on our mobile phones till that day. Oh, we'll stay safe side in our homes till the day it's safe to roam. What a singing there will be in that day. Oh, what a singing there will be in that day. Oh, what a singing there will be one sweet day. Oh, what a singing there will be when we can meet in company. What a singing there will be in that day. Stand up for the ones who save us every day. Doctors, nurses, braving dangers every day. And the ones who bring our shopping, underpaid but never stopping. Don't forget 'em, stand up for them on that day. Oh, what a singing there will be in that day. Oh, what a singing there will be, and one sweet day. Oh, what a singing there will be when we can stand in unity. What a singing there will be in that day. Shake the walls and pull down houses on that day. Oh, may they never more divide us anyway. For there isn't an excuse to hand them back the power they're used to. What a reckoning there must be on that day. Oh, what a singing there will be in that day. Oh, what a singing there will be that sweet day. Oh, what a singing there will be when we can stand in unity. What a singing there will be in that day. What a singing there will be in that day. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a singing there will be.
What a singing there will be.
Very
Indeed.
good.
I can't wait to sing that with you
Oh, God,
Yes.
in
yeah.
the same room.
Yes.
Brilliant.
And it'll be
Much
pretty much
harder.
as soon as we've all sung it together, it's going to get retired because it's done the job. You know, it's a
Yeah.
song for a moment. You know.
It is.
It is.
It is. But I think the
But it's got a little bit of life when you're able to do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, I would like to before we wind up, I would like to thank Auntie Marion, anonymous Ko-fi supporter, Lexi and Rick, another anonymous Ko-fi supporter, and Vicky Appleton Fielden, who have all dropped the price of a cup of coffee or more into our jingling cup.
Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you very much. You've made it well. It was worth our while anyway, wasn't it? Really,
Yeah.
you know,
It was.
it's
Very enjoyable.
yes. Thank you
was.
very much for your generosity anyway. And Zap saying, Dolly, Vicky's saying Dolly will definitely reach people that official sources won't. Zap Esler, so looking forward to that day, aren't we all? My God. And the thing is, because we're all in so many disparate communities, there's going to be lots of those days, isn't there? There's going to be the day when
There
it's
are.
safe to meet up with your family.
Yeah.
There's going to be the day
Yeah.
when it's safe to go to that folk club, and then that folk club,
Yeah.
and then that festival, and then that convention. So it's going to be a rolling
Yeah.
bundle of joy and fury because these
It is.
let's keep
bastards
our
cannot
fingers
get away
crossed
with
for
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
so on that note of
it's been a delight.
Yeah.
optimistic
absolute
fury.
pleasure.
It's been a pleasure having you. Don't
Thank you
forget,
for having-
Jenna and David have a fantastic new CD, Wheel and Dive. If you've enjoyed what they've done today, there's a bunch more songs on there. Some really nice and interesting rethinkings of some songs. There's a version of Two Magicians on there, which is a song that I really dislike in most versions, that they've just made it right and it's brilliant. God, I mean, they do Joni Mitchell's
That's
A
a
Case
good
of You,
endorsement.
and it's brilliant, and that's one of those songs that is just a fucking mountain as far as I'm concerned. Well
Yeah, it
done.
is.
Yeah.
So seek out their album. And Marion has just suggested that when I make my next album's got to be called Optimistic Fury, and she's dead right. I think that's reserved for me and Emily. I think. So yes, thank you all very much. It's been an absolute pleasure performing. I'm a pro streamer, you know. I do this every week. Every week, I'm experienced. I'm.
You can tell.
Yeah,
I know it shows, doesn't it? The professionalism just
out of every pore.
drips off me.
It's beyond professional.
Right, it's been a pleasure. Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you to David and Jenna for singing. Do check out their album on Bandcamp. Do check out their website. When we come out from under this god-awfulness, do go and see them live because they'll be brilliant. And join me next week when my guest will be...
TBA.
TBA, yes. The well-known TBA. I'll tell you, there's a band name.
Rapper.
TBA.
Folk rapper.
Well, that's Pete Morton, isn't it?
I suppose
He
so,
did an
yeah.
album of frapping, as he called it.
Frapping, yes.
Yes.
If I don't fade this to black and stop the stream, we'll never stop talking, and it's past your bedtime. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to press the FTP.